You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
What I meant this your boy Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders podcast. And today, we talking some great independent comics, baby, with this amazing writer, creator. And wait a minute. In the green room, we got a surprise too. We don't just have the big homie on deck. We got the homie's partner in crime as well. Let me introduce this amazing family duo, dynamic duo right here that's killing the scene. This book is called The Shepherd, right? And they're dropping the fourth volume. That's right, baby. The fourth volume on Kicktarter real soon. We're going to talk about what the story is all about, this current volume. Let me bring the big bosses into the business, into the house right now. The one, the only, Andrea Lorenzo Molinari and Roberto. Hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
What's popping, fellas? Thank you for hanging out with me to talk about The Shepherd, and more. I'm excited. I've been reading through the Apocalypse. Right? Did I say that right?
Apocalypse, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I'm digging it. A nice little revenge tale, if you will, already. Kind of as I'm going through it as a father, I'm feeling someone like, yeah. You're hitting some points there. Artistry, beautiful movie. The movie, it felt like a movie. That's right. In my head, I kind of really make everything cinematic, so I have a good imagination. So your story made it very easy. So before we get into that, for those unfamiliar, and since Roberto popped in or late, and look at that, showing off with the t-shirt and the swag too, selling the gear, yeah. So Roberto, thankful to us too. You popped in. He had just mentioned he may pop in. I don't know, and then it's like, there you go. You popped in.
It's like a work question for me. Like if I get called out, then I go and deal with that. Like side jobs are a big thing for me. So like it's just a question of like whether or not I can make it.
Oh, I got you. Good. But listen, you do what you do. So all right. So talk to me about The Shepherd and your perspective. Growing up with a creative daddy like this.
Well, I'll start off. It's a series of graphic novels. We've been writing this forever. It's actually based off of a nightmare that my dad had about me. I don't know if he ever ended up talking to you about that part, but this all came from a nightmare that Dad had. Where in this nightmare, he talks about it as being kind of like strapped into a roller coaster, like a ride that he couldn't get off of. And in the dream, I died. He goes throughout, that entire process. And then the movie part that you were talking about, kind of like that's when that really gets started. Dad, if you want to talk about like the dream.
Well, it was, as he said, I dreamed that he had died tragically of a drug overdose. And it wasn't just that he died, that trauma of that, but it was so detailed. Identifying his body in the morgue, seeing him in the funeral home, graveside, months later, grieving, all that. And it was just like, it was like it actually happened. And when I woke up, I was sweating and shaking, and my wife, asked me, what had happened. I said, I don't think you really want to know. And she's like, well, now I kind of do. You're going to have to tell me. And then when I did tell her, she was like, I hate you. Why would you tell me that? So, but I was very, we're laughing about it now, but that's a pretty horrible dream to have. And Beryl and I have always been very close. And, it really took me a couple days, I think 2 or 3 days before I was able to work up enough courage to actually talk with him about it. And his whole attitude from the very beginning was very, was unconcerned. And it was just like, Dad, we got to do something about this. We've got to do something with this story. And that was really the big thing. He was, this whole series was really a result of his determination that this had to be something.
Yeah, I wasn't really worried about it. And at the time, I didn't have much of a meth habit. So the whole dying by meth overdose thing was not something that I was, really all that worried about.
Oh, man.
This is the flippant side of Roberto. Yeah. You're getting a full view here, but yeah.
Look, so in the town where you guys are from, though, is meant something of a problem, though, that maybe led to the dream? Is it something that's rampant in your community by chance?
Well, I think I think the dream was, I think I had it when we were living in Iowa, and that is kind of an issue.
Well, that dream would have happened when we were at the Rice School. So that would have been shortly after coming to Florida. And I mean, the thing is, like, you know, moving throughout the Midwest, like living in the Midwest, like Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, it's not like it's not present. Like, you know, it's there.
Gotcha. All right. So tell people then. So you had this horrible nightmare. Horrible. I mean, and then reading this particular issue is like I'm reliving what I just read. Like,
sorry about that.
So talk to me then. Like, how did you decide then to get creative? You said we got to do something. What were the steps you guys took? Did you guys know what you were doing when you decided to do this?
No. Like,
yeah. Go ahead, Daryl.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, the first step I think was like the writing process, which was kind of like me sitting over Dad's shoulder, and it was kind of like writing a movie script. It is really the best way that I can describe it. And then after that, the process, which has been refined over time, was really kind of like reaching out and talking to people, talking to artists. I think it was Jason Doobie with what was the name of that place? Like his website.
Scattered Comic Studios out in Sacramento.
Yeah, and he kind of like, he really got us started. Like the whole process of actually like working with an artist, talking through, you know, kind of like the panels, like just how they wanted to block things out, the sequential arts, all that kind of stuff. Like that was, you know, learning by the seat of our pants. And then over time, like, because it's really one of those things where as you do it over years, you get better and better at it, and you kind of like know what to look for in the artists that you're working with, in like your colorists, even in the what is it, like, it's the word overlay, Dad, like the word is escaping me. Yeah, the lettering. Like your lettering is actually like way more important than you would think. Like having good lettering can make or break a comic book.
Yeah, 100 agree. Is an artistry to lettering in and of itself. So you definitely gotta land that great. So talk about that. You know, any challenges under there in building that team, you know, and working with your son, and you know, like, did you have any times where, maybe this guy and one of you were maybe not really, or this guy, or whatever, you know, how was that for you to pick that team to continue on what to
I think we try to make decisions together, you know, about artists and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that there haven't been challenges, not so much from our side of the equation, but we've had challenges. Like, just to put it in perspective, keep in mind our first venture into comics was that volume 1, which is basically 5 issues. I would recommend that a beginner not do that. Okay. Because it was like a 120-page graphic novel. And,
I think 124 for the first one.
Yeah. And not a smart move when you're starting out. You really should start out with, you know, like a single issue, one shot, 24 pages, 20 to 24 pages in and out, tell a complete story, and get the feel of that experience. You really have to learn how to manage your artists and pick out the artists, you know, because there are lots of artists out there. What happened with us, just to explain one of the pitfalls you can run into, is we had a first choice for an artist, and we started the process and we did the entire issue 1, all the art, all the colors, everything. And then the artist decided to leave the project. Now he had legitimate reasons, you know, but still we had issue 1 with an artist, and now we were going issue 2 through 5. We're going to be with somebody else. So in the long run, it turned out that we ended up having to redo issue 1. So we paid for issue 1 twice, which is not ideal, you know. So one of the things we really learned from that is that you have to be very careful about who's going to be your line artist, your pencils and ink person. You need to have somebody who's really going to be a pro, who is got a track record of finishing projects, especially projects of the length that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And you're going to need help finding those artists, a lot of help, because you don't want to go onto Fiverr and just pick out somebody off. That could work, but I would bet against it. That's been my experience.
For these lessons here, folks, these are some pros that are dropping a fourth. They're talking about this first one. You're on your fourth. I mean, so going on to your second, how was that journey like? And then going on to your third is like, what lessons and how much better did you feel? Because you're talking about your first one, don't do this. So what did you apply then for your second volume? Or did you say, fuck it, I'm gonna go crazy again and do another crazy book?
Well, we didn't learn from our mistake in terms of making a long book.
Yeah.
It was a long book. It was actually longer. It was 183 pages.
Oh man, you dove even deeper. Love it.
Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
But in our defense, one thing that we did decide to do is to make the story more of an anthology. So like volume 2 imagines a hospital in the afterlife. See, my wife, let me back this up. My wife works for the VA. She does PTSD counseling for veterans and active duty service personnel. And so I was hearing about that all the time. And Beryl and I talked about it. And we said, well, we imagined the idea that there would be a hospital in the afterlife for the soldiers and Marines and warriors who didn't make it in combat, that they died and had trauma that they needed to be able to heal from. So we imagined that. And the way we got around the whole thing with the length of the book is that we switched art on purpose. So we told this 4 different warriors' tales in that book. They were all in the hospital, but each of them was a different warrior from a different time period. So we had the oldest one was a Wendat Native American. The white men called him Huron, and he died fighting the Iroquois in 1648. So that was one artist who did that. Okay. Then we had a Napoleonic soldier who died under Napoleon fighting in Jaffa, modern day Israel, in 1799. And we had a different artist who did that. And then we had a Confederate soldier, and that was Beryl wrote that story. That was his first independent, and it was a 24-page story of that Confederate soldier. Nice. And I think it's some of those, I still to this day love reading that part of the book because it's just, I think he just did a great job. And then the last one is a U.S. Marine who died in Fallujah 2004. So each of those had their own artist. And so that broke up the art team and didn't put all the responsibility on one person. And that was kind of what we learned, from the other one. But it was still, 183 pages is big. It's way too big,
Not in the lesson, but you went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah. But we got it done. So all's well that ends well.
Love it. And how did that project go though? Again, because obviously then that led to a volume 3. Hey.
Yeah, and that we actually just did a Kickstarter for that. That's
wait a minute. Hold on. Let me see if I can get you on that big screen there. Right? Can I get there we go. Oh, look at that. Look how pretty that looks. Holy shit.
It is really a beautiful volume.
Let me see the spine. Let's show off the spine. Let's see how girthy she is. Hey, look at that. That is some self porn, baby. Look at that. That is some self porn. Yes.
Yeah, that is. This one is actually, ironically, the shortest novel.
Oh, it is? Holy shit, volume 3.
Finally learned the lesson.
Yeah, we did learn the lesson this time. So we said, okay, Beryl and I laughed about this, actually. I don't know if you remember this, Beryl, but we made a rule for ourselves that it was going to be 25-page issues. That's it.
Yeah.
There weren't going to be any longer issues than that. So there, in this volume, you actually have 2 stories. One is called The Valentine, and The Valentine focuses on the children of the shepherd that are left behind, because the shepherd is in the afterlife after volume 1. In fact, at the end of chapter 1, this is a little bit of a spoiler. At the end of chapter 1, volume 1, he's in the afterlife from that point on. Oh, and this story deals with the children that he left behind, his youngest son, Nico, and his daughter, Lexi. And they have paranormal abilities. We see it in volume 1, but this really unpacks what happens there. And so there's a 3-issue story called The Valentine that stars the little kids. And then there's a one-shot called The Pit, and it's the backstory in this volume. It's a 1-issue, 25-page. And that one I actually wrote with my daughter. The
family is getting all in the business, baby.
Yeah.
I love it. Yo, what? Show that book again. Let people see. Look, that's a family affair. That is a family affair right there. Look at that. Beautiful book, though. I do love that gloss too, man.
This was actually produced as a result of a Kickstarter that we did back in March, and we were really, really gratified the support we got at that Kickstarter. And the company that does this hardcover is actually called Transcontinental. They're a printer based in Quebec, in Canada.
Okay.
And they actually do hardcovers for DC. So when I heard that, I was like, well, if they do them for DC,
oh hell yeah,
I'm gonna go out on the ice there and say they'll be able to do it for us. So they did a great job. I was thrilled with the results. I think Berto, without speaking for you, what do you think of how that volume turned out?
Honestly, in general, I'd say that with our first printer, that it started out good and it's only gotten better since. Like, I didn't have any problem at all. Like, really, we only had some misprints here and there. Like, when they were actually like hitting right, like even the first printer, like I felt was really solid, like with the quality that we got. It was just that we had to look through them and make sure that there weren't like misprints getting through out to readers. And then after that, like, I feel like it's just been better and better. But yeah, like, I've been really pleased with how these ones turned out.
Beautiful. Now, talk to me about Kickstarter. You did volume 3 Kickstarter. You said, how did that go? Was it an easy peasy, lane for you guys to work on? I mean, how was that journey for you guys on Kickstarter? Because, obviously you coming back on with volume 4, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But how was that journey with volume 3 on Kickstarter?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of tension. You always worry, but what
is
was
that how you got white hair?
Yeah, I had to laugh. I see the picture down here in the corner of me. That was back in my 30s. By the way, Al, I'm going to turn 57 on Saturday.
Hey, happy early birthday. You still look massively young, brother. Don't you worry about it.
Thanks.
I did a lot of that aging to him. That was my fault.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. But no, it's tense. It's tense. The Kickstarter takes place over a month, and you're worried until you make your, till you make your goal. But what was gratifying was that we did get quite a bit of support, a lot of support, and a lot of creators stepped in and supported us in different ways. They made donations. They shared our campaign. They endorsed us. And that really meant a lot. As an editor, I've worked with a lot of creators. I mean,
I spoke to Dakota Brown just the other day, and he mentioned you and how much you helped him in his book.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, he's on the money. He's like, no, wait a minute. You're going to talk about time periods. And you're a boss on that. So like, wait a minute, you're going to have to do this, check this out. So I like that. I mean, it's like you on the money dude, and I see how you're kind of navigating with what I'm reading now. And I'm like, yo, all right. I see now, you did give me a spoiler, but now I'm even more excited to see what the hell happens. Like, why is he up there now? But whatever, we'll figure it out. Okay. So
Dakota's an amazing young man. It was an honor to work with him. He was really easy to work with, and we just had a lot of fun. It was interesting because, his book, Death Comes for the Toy Maker is the name of it. And it is actually a modern retelling of the Epic of Gilgamesh. And for those people who are unfamiliar with the Epic of Gilgamesh, it's the oldest epic in the Western world. And it dates from at least 3,500 years, roughly. It goes back to the Sumerian empire, which many people have never heard of that before. It's like
if you're an Evil Dead fan, you've heard Sumerian.
Yeah, ancient Iraq, and Babylonians, which would be also, in what is now modern day Iraq in the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley. It's an amazing story. It's really a story of a superhero, half man, half God.
Yeah.
And I loved the idea of working on a modern comic on that, and the idea of being able to try to be faithful to that mythology, to the Babylonian Sumerian mythology. That was really an honor to do that. So
it was a wonderful read. I definitely enjoyed it. It got me hooked. I cared what was going on. So yeah, 3,500 years later, even with a modern twist, the story still holds up.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It really does. It's an amazing story. Yeah.
I think if talking about stories, man, like you bringing something to the game right now, man. You guys are about to murder it again, as I've been saying it with volume numero cuatro. I mean, guys, look what they bring into the game here. My gosh. I mean, yes, not just the first. I mean, look at this variants. I mean, look at this. Look at how beautiful is that. Talk about these covers I'm looking at, dude.
Well, it might be best to have Roberto take over at this point, because one of the things I wanted to say is that what's unique about Volume 4 is that Berto is really the lead writer of this volume. I do some writing too. Yeah, but he's driving the bus, and this is really the engine here is really him doing that. So, Berto, why don't you take over and talk a little bit about the inspiration for the Tether?
Okay. I mean, the inspiration for the Tether actually goes back to a short story. So, like, I was taking, I think it was like a screenwriting class or a script writing class or something like that back when I was like still going to USF, and I wrote, I wrote a few short stories like while I was going through it, but the one that kind of stuck is I wrote a kind of like a mass shooter story, like from the perspective of the victims as it was happening. So it was basically from like the perspective of two students that were together in kind of like a library setting, as this, this shooting starts taking place. And that character, one of them, because it's basically like a couple in the original short story, that character, is kind of translated directly into the Tether. So like that short story could be almost taken like one for one as a concept for the Tether. Her, like the events that happened in that shooting lead to her being in the afterlife and kind of running into Val, and that was really the inspiration for the story.
And it blew me away when I read this. Like, Berto gave it to me to read, and I was blown away by it. Berto can tell you that I knew right away that we needed to use this story to wrap a shepherd story around it, because it was really powerful, very visceral. Like he said, it's a university setting in a university library, and the shooter comes in and just starts going off. But it's really, like he said, it's what makes it truly unique is he captures this sense of fear and panic in the victim, because the story is told as he said, from the victim's point of view, and it's just so powerful. So that's a core element in this book of the Tether. The other thing that was kind of fun, and I'll be interested to hear what Berto has to say about this, is I said I really wanted to have this be a romance. And this was a challenge, for Berto, because I basically said, Berto, I need you to write a convincing romance, between the characters of Val, which is the shepherd's son, the shepherd's oldest son he's become, partners and work together in the afterlife. And he has this romantic attachment to this young woman that you see depicted here in the cover. So, Berto, talk about that, the whole adventure.
It's hard not to give like spoilers and stuff like that, which I obviously want to try to lean away from.
Bite your tongue anytime you're about to give me a spoiler. You bite yourself. It's not too hard.
Yeah. I think that anytime you write any kind of romance, you are drawing from your previous experiences, whether they're good, bad, in the middle, whatever. And anytime that you are kind of like creating that relationship between these characters, it's always going to draw from the things that you've gone through yourself. Now, as of yet, as far as I'm aware, I haven't died. So the whole romance in the afterlife thing is kind of outside of my experience, outside of my wheelhouse. But the rest of it, like a lot of these, like the little pieces, the little scenes, the little things are, things that I had kind of like done or went through or experienced. And so it's just kind of like, I mean, it's taking the things that you've done or been through and then putting them into the written word.
Gotcha. That must have been fun. How crazy we're gonna get in the book then, brother? I mean, am I gonna have to question you on another podcast? Well, this character did this, so when did you do that? Oh man, so this campaign, I mean, and let me put this up real quick right here, everybody. Right here, this is the pre-launch page, baby, right there. I have the link. It's also in the show notes. It's below. This is the pre-launch for the Kickstarter. Talk about when you expect this baby to go live. And I love that. In darkness, love is a beacon. Wepa.
Thank you. The plan is to launch October 1st. I almost said August 1st, which would be difficult because you'd have to wait till 2025 to do that. But because it is a horror story, romantic horror, like we envision it kind of like gothic in its character. We thought that it would be a good idea to position it in October, when people are already thinking about ghost stories and horror stories already. So we'll launch October 1st.
Let me tell you, this is such a great piece of art, though.
It is. It really is. The artist who totally deserves credit for that piece, his name is Luca Merli, Merli. And he actually did one of the variant covers, actually the A cover for issue one.
For a minute, because let's talk about it right there. Boom.
Yeah, he did. The green one. Yeah, that green one is Luca as well. The same one who did the volume. And we have the one with the wolf in the cemetery. That one is Jaime Martinez, who's the interior artist. He did the cover B. And then we have Mara Mendez, who did the two on the as you look at it on the right, the two more romantic pieces. I guess all four of them are romantic, but I love her work because they really capture the kind of like the feeling between Val and Maria. That's her name, the young woman.
Oh yeah, especially the second one, the virgin one without the header on it.
Yeah,
it looks like a very sweet moment you could capture in a picture somewhere.
Yeah,
very, very well done. And those color ones, Jesus Christ, I gotta get them all. You gotta get them all. I mean, who could be beautiful looking covers, yo? Come on now. Well, and then you got these, the hard covers right here. Jeez, look at this, right? My gosh.
Yeah, I'm really proud of those covers. Obviously, Volume 1, the white one, that's David Mack.
How did you get David Mack, son? One of my favorite artists. He is monster, bro.
He is my favorite comic book artist. The only one that is close to him is Mike Mignola. Mike Mignola is a very
absolutely, bro.
He's number 2.
Have you seen the documentary, Mike, about Mike?
Yeah.
The documentary. If you haven't watched it, you gotta get into it.
Oh, I'd love to see that. Then the second volume, The Path of Souls, that's Riccardo Bercielli. And I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was the interior artist. I also did plenty of covers for Vertigo's DMZ.
Oh, word.
Rosario Dawson, when they did the television version of that, she played the main character, Rosario Dawson, who I love. I think she's an amazing actress. But that's Riccardo Bercielli, who did number 2. And then number 3 is Victor Santos. And I'm a huge Victor Santos fan. He does Polar, the series Polar. That's his most famous one. But he's also worked on Berto, the one he did the mice thing that you like so much.
Of mice? No, it's not mice. And then the Mice Templar?
Yes, Mice Templar. He did Mice Templar, I think in volume 2 of that. And then he also did a book called Until My Knuckles Bleed with Behemoth, or Sumerian, now called Sumerian. But I'm a big Victor Santos fan, and he did volume 3. And then, like I said, Luca Merli here for volume 4.
Yeah, man, I got beautiful books for all these books are gonna be available for us to get on the website, on the Kickstarter. Like, where can we get these babies?
You'll be able to get, well, first of all, you can get all of them on the website.
You mean this website right there?
Exactly.
Comic.com, that one right there.
I feel like you set me up there for a marketing moment. Yes, that very website, www.theshepherdcomic.com.
No, man, when you got people pimping the swag that you can get on the website, like
I know,
right
yeah.
I mean, show that on right there. Show off that logo, man. Look at that. That looks sweet, man. Proper placement on the logo.
This is one of the first designs we ever had. This is actually like, I think maybe, if not the very first Shepherd shirt that we put out, like real close to it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I've done, like, I have the sweatshirt where I do with the main, the staff as a kind of the brand.
Let me see the logo.
Yeah, sure.
There we go. Nice. There we go. You see all this dope swag, and especially like a hoodie. The forthcoming folks, we need this stuff.
Yeah, well, the hoodie seemed like an appropriate choice for the Shepherd. If you read the book, you see he wears the hooded trench coat.
Roberto, are you gonna get your pops a cosplay like as the lead?
He does. I don't have to tell him. He just does it. Like I would say, I don't know, half the cons he does at least. Like he usually takes, like we have, Dad, if you have the Shepherd staff behind, he carries that with him. He carries that with him to almost all these cons.
I'll show you that it actually, see if you can see it there. It actually lights up too.
Yeah, my man rocking. He ain't playing. There we go. That's belief in your product. I love it. All right,
I used to do a lot more cosplay than I'm doing now, but I've done a lot of shows with that staff. That staff is a veteran, comic convention veteran.
Yeah, I love it. So we're talking about conventions. What a segue, because I know we're approaching the end of the year slowly already. My gosh, and you said yourself, you had a crazy busy year, and getting more work done, keeping busy. I mean, what's up with convention plans for the rest of the year? Y'all taking it easy or going to show up any place else?
Oh, I've got 3 more for the year. I'm going to go to Alabama Comic Con coming the last weekend of this month. So that would be, let me check the dates here real quick. So that'd be the 28th and 29th of September in Birmingham, Alabama. And then I will be going to, on the 18th, 19th, and 20th of October, I'll be in Cincinnati for the Cincinnati Comic Expo. That'll be my first time in Cincinnati. I'm really looking forward to that. And then Chattanooga at Chattanooga Comic Con on the 26th and 27th of October. And then I'm done for the year. So
there we go.
One of my favorite conventions to do is the one that Berto loves the most. Is we love doing New Orleans together.
Yeah, I've become something of a bum when it comes to the conventions, where I basically don't really go out to them anymore. But New Orleans is I'm making it to New Orleans, like every time. Like I absolutely love the city. Like I have fun there every time I go.
No doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other ones that I really enjoy. I mean, Dragon Con. We did Dragon Con this year. Atlanta's always a great time. Pensacon in February. That is one of my all-time favorite conventions. Just wonderful people there, and of course, you've got the Naval Air Station that's there, and the Marines and Airmen and Navy personnel. Amazing people. Love meeting them. Mississippi Comic-Con has always been wonderful to me. They're in Jackson, Mississippi. I like the people from Mississippi a lot. They're just top-notch people. Love them. Absolutely.
That's the place to go for. Excuse my voice, folks. I'm like going on a balance right now. I feel like I may lose my voice any minute now. I don't know what's going on, but it's all right. I'm alive, folks. I don't know what I choked on, but shit, I'm here. All right. You see me, I'm not crying. I know the story's that good.
You're moved.
I go TV and shit, but I hate the book right now. I promise. All right. I think all the conventions, before we go, working as a collaborative partnership, a father-son duo, man, any advice for likewise type of duos out there?
Advice?
Yeah. Working together, especially as family.
Dad and I get along pretty well in general. Like, there was like the more tension of like my teenage years when I was acting like an asshole. But like, since then, like we get along really well. Like the teamwork aspect, I think has felt really natural. Like for the most part, like it's really one vision, I think. Like when we sit there and bounce ideas off of each other, I don't know that we've ever had, not even once, like an actual significant disagreement. I would say we've never even come close to an actual argument or anything like that. Any kind of significant disagreement about the direction that the Shepherd was taking. I think that for the most part is kind of like us bouncing ideas back and forth, like talking about it. Like really the process of sitting there talking about it is when we get a lot of really good progress. Because like what'll end up happening is that we'll be off doing our own thing, like kind of like letting the pot simmer, like the idea just simmer. And then, whatever breakthroughs will happen on our own, we'll then bring to the other guy. We'll sit there and bounce the ideas back and forth, be like, okay, well, this works. This doesn't work. I think this can work. We need to work on this. Like, what can we do to make this better? And then there's been like a ton of that since the process started.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Excellent. What about you, Andrea? Working with your son, being a knucklehead when he was a young man, and now he's up here, doing his thing. How you feel?
Oh, I'm real proud of him. And, I think he was fine in his teenage years. I mean, I think he's been a great young man, always.
Yeah,
I'm biased. I'm biased, of course. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy our working together. I would love to do more of it. I mean, it's been harder because as he gets, he's getting into his career, busy, he lives on the other side of the state now, over towards Tampa in that area. And I'm in West Palm Beach. So, I don't as much as I like, but when I'm going off to a convention, I often stay the night with him before I launch off, to go to wherever when I go to Birmingham, the night before I leave for Birmingham, I'll visit him and then jump off from the Tampa area.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
See, folks, look at this. Proud family working together on a fire book. And again, it's dropping soon, October 1st, right? The pre-launch is right there. The link is below in the show notes. Please sign up, support independent comic books. Yeah, this is their 4th volume. It's the 4th volume for a reason, because it is fire. So let's keep getting that until via 1,000 if we can, all right? Follow us on team working forever over here. Get it done. If you missed out on anything, check them out at theshepherdcomic.com. Pick up some books, some swag, and more. I mean, especially with the holidays coming up, think about it. A nice thing to bring. If you go to somebody's house for Thanksgiving, if you're a horrible cook, at least could maybe bring them a good comic book or not a nice stocking stuffer. You feel me? And of course, they follow them on IG and Facebook at The Shepherd Comic. That easy peasy. Everything also below, but show the support for amazing people like Andrea and Roberto, man. Again, thank you guys for hanging out with me, talking about the Shepherd, your journey and everything, man. You guys rock. Yo, bless on what y'all do as a fan to creators, yo.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man. Like, really appreciate you having us on.
No, you guys rock. Hopefully I could do this right now. Hold on. And with that, folks, much love.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusadersworld.com and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.